Hello and welcome back. My name is Tumitla Adi. This is video number 9. Let's get started. Now, what's the topic of this video? Beware of Razor in MVC when working with web frameworks such as .NET Core. Right. Remember, when you start a new project, right, you would choose, in fact, let's try to do that quickly. Where is that command palette? Okay, you would say new project, not okay. Where is that option? Oh, new project, right? You would then choose. Remember, if you go with empty, you don't get support for Razor. But if you go with MVC, like I've gone with it, you will get support for Razor pages. But you can also do Razor pages as a standalone project. But MVC also has a little bit of Razor, only when you choose authentication to be identity, right? So what am I talking about? Suppose I have pages like this. This is a login, right? This is completely Razor pages. It's making use of identity system, but it's built on top of Razor pages, right? And then you have this page. This is MVC, pure MVC, right? So let's go and open that login. So everything inside areas is Razor, literally. So account, I want to talk about the support of Razor in MVC that you need to be aware of. So number one, we're going to work with this file and this class. And then we're going to go to controller, clients, MVC, this controller. And then we need the corresponding view. You see how MVC works, right? So we need to go and add contact info because this is the page that we are currently on, right? So while you are used to MVC, hence I say beware of Razor support, Razor pages, the support of it, because things are done differently here. Let's go back to login. So this is our login. This page is completely different in how it's been rendered and the architecture behind it. Number one, let's go to the view itself. It's using add page, something that you do not see in a pure CSHTML. So they're both a CSHTML, but in pure MVC, you don't get add page. But both of them, they do have add model. But the page, the Razor pages, it's linking to a class that's, let's see. You see, this class is just underneath, right? So this is how you will go about it. Also, this kind of architecture is also in .NET MAUI. You have the page and you have a code behind. So think of this as a code behind of this particular page, right? So add model, this is how it's gonna know, right? Whereas this one, you can link the model to anything. In my case, it's MVVM pattern. So this is my view model. I never expose the models directly, right? So you need to be aware of. And then obviously you have, you can put in a title, it's using view data. And also this one, it's using view back. So here we love view backs, right? Good. Now, here is the form and it's pretty much straightforward, right? Of the login. So these are the basic stuff. We can also have the form in here if we want to, but I want to show you that it's using a label that's kind of like different. It's using label sp4. It's binding to something .email, right? Even the input sp-4, it's binding to something .email. Even with the span of which is sp-validation4, it's binding to something. Whereas when it comes to the MVC, it's quite different. Let's take this one for example. HTML at HTML.label4, and this is how we do the model. This can be anything, but we like to keep it as model, such as model dot accessing one of the properties in what this class, right? And also the text box 4, same thing, like I said, can be anything, right? And the validation message 4. So this is MVC that you're used to. But when you work with Razor, it's quite different and you need to be aware of, right? So remember, add the contact info. There's view. It needs to be hooked to a action. Both of them. So this is HTTP GET, the first version of it, which is this one, right? Where you haven't pressed the button save, right? So this is how it needs to be hooked up to it. And you, not this one, contact, this one. This name has to be the same as that of the file, which is CSHTML. So here, public async, it needs to be publicly exposed. This might not be async task, but it definitely needs to be action result or just action result, right? Whereas, remember, with the login, we are linking to this class, login model. So login model, it's a normal class, public class login model, but it needs to implement the page model, which is the most important thing. And oh, by the way, when it comes to controller, you need to implement inherit it from controller class, right? To have access to these actions, right? So let's carry on. So page model is quite different. This may be the standard, right? You can set your global variables, you can set your constructor, it's fine, do you understand? There's one thing that's different, which is what I like about Razor pages, right? You have this bind property, right? It's a property. That means it needs to be, this is an attribute, a bind property. On this property, you know there's a property, right? Of type login view model. Do you understand? The login model is just a class that's linking to the page. Think of it as code behind. But inside, we're exposing the actual view model. Like I said, I expose the view models. So this one, I called it login view model. Before I carry on with a login view model, let's go back to add contact info page. Remember I said it's linked to this contact info view model. So where does it live? It's far. It lives inside a folder called the view models. Then I'm gonna go to this folder, and then I'm gonna go to clients. I'm gonna go to MVC, and then I'm gonna find it. Wait, no. Client, MVC, and there we go. So this is where it's linked. You see how far it is. It's different because when it comes to the login page class, which is the code behind of login page, right? This login view model, it's a class that I want it not to be outside, but to stay in here. So I added additional class inside the same file, public class login view model. I have my properties. I have this property called email of type string. And then I have two attributes. One of them, this is a must. Number two, this should be of type email of address. Then I have the second property called password of type string. And then I have a first attribute, it's a must. And then the data type is of password. Then I have this one called remember me, type of Boolean. This one I just use a display to write something different, of which this is what you see here. Email, password, and then remember me. So these are three properties on this login view model. So going back up. Now, if I want to expose this to the page like this, remember login model, it then needs to know about it using bind property. That's what exposes those email, password, remember me properties, right? So we use bind property. Now, an attribute that can specify model name of type Microsoft ASP.NET Core MVC model binding, model binder to use for binding the associated properties, right? Good. So you just give it a friendly name. So I don't like to write something different because then I will not know what this is. I will not know, right? So if I know, oh, login view model, then I can access a property. If I were to do this, dot, do we have IntelliSense? It's loading. It doesn't show me what I'm looking for, but it's fine. It shows me the general stuff. But oh, there we go. That's why the color coding was funny. There we go. So now I have access to the email. I have access to password. I have access to remember me. These are the properties. And as you can see, it's of type string. Do you understand? It's a property. Okay, good. I'm glad you saw that. Right. So going back to it. So now we have this guy. So how does it send data back and forth? Good question. Remember on the controller, I said you need to be aware of two versions of the page. The first version is HTTP GET. The second version is HTTP POST. Two versions. Now, this one also, the Razor pages on the methods, right? What you do have is public async task. You see iAction result. But this one is called onGetAsync. It can be onGet if it's not asynchronous method, right? But now this one, oh no. This one is onGetAsync. You can pass in anything like you would on the controller if you want to. You can pass in anything on this first version if you want to. So you need to be aware of that. This is called onGet, whereas this one you need to decorate using HTTP GET. By default it is, but it's good to know. By default it is. But it's good to know that you can decorate it using HTTP GET. Whereas you cannot assume that this is second version of this one method. It's going to be HTTP POST. You cannot assume that. You need to explicitly tell it so that when you click the button save, after entering junk here, junk there, junk there, junk, 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 junk. And when you hit the button save, you should always remember that it should go to the second version that's decorated with HTTP POST, right? So the first version onGet. Another thing that's different is how it returns. This one is going to return a page. It creates a page result object that renders the page because of it inherits from page model, right? You take away this, you're going to have a lot of problems, such as you can't access that guy, amongst other things. There we go. Good. So that one is. Whereas the controller of MVC on the first version of it, yes, because remember I can do a whole lot of work, but I just return what the view creates a view result object by specifying a model to be rendered by the view. So I can just return an empty view or I can just return something. This is still allowed, right? So just know that if you're used to MVC, beware of the Razor support. It's different. Also, when we redirect it to action to a different page, this one MVC is using redirect to action, right? Right. So the second version of Razor is onPost async, right? And onPost, we can also do redirect to action. There we go. But also the page. But I want to show you the buttons, that login button. Let's go back to it. These buttons. There's a button, that's a button, that's a button, right? Because they're doing something. They're also wired differently. Now, let me start with this one. So this is an input of type submit, right? It has on click, right? This is me doing JavaScript stuff, right? So this is it. And then it knows what to do, right? But the type submit is going to go directly to onPost async, right? Whereas these ones, another button for forgot, I just give it an ID and I just say ASP-page. And this is how I'm navigating to say, listen, go one level up and look for forgot password. And you just give it a friendly text, right? And the same thing with the register, go one level up, look for register. I can pass in some route if I want to inject something into it. Do you understand? All right. So whereas here, the button to save, I just have the button itself of type submit. It will automatically go to the second version, which is HTTP post, this one, right? Passing the data. Okay. And then the cancel, this is how I use to redirect. If I click this button, say, okay, I don't want to do this action, I want to cancel, I want to get out. So it's different because when I use the add URL.action, so this is where now we can do some stuff, right? I'm going to say, go to this controller, you find this view there. So this one is different. So that's something that I want to show you. And I'm going to show you stuff that matters. It matters to me because I taught myself MVC, right? I taught myself MVC in great detail, but no one taught me Razor Pages. I had to do my own self-study. And then I had to understand that the things are done differently on the page, how it's been rendered, the view of it, and the code behind things are being done differently. I had to be aware of the pages. What if I want to inject this? What if I want to do that? What if I want to redirect it to a different page? What if I want to do this? You see, also, this is also something that's different. This is completely different. How we want to pass in some route values. This is done different because this is how you get to know about, listen, I want to pass in data when you read that to a page. How do I do it? Whereas in MVC, it's quite different. So this is what makes a good developer. Do you understand? To be aware to adapt and adjust. Like I said, I didn't want to go straight into Razor Pages fully, but I want to have that support. And remember that support, it's bundled with identity and it's complex because there are also pages. This you get by default, log in the register. But such as having to add the phone, adding the phone, you have to figure out now how to get this thing done. And the support of it, do you understand? You have to figure out how to get done. Once you understand the bind property, getting this guy, it's a smooth journey. Do you understand? You learn from this and you go and create your own stuff. Do you understand? And you can customize this. You can add other stuff. So I hope you found this very interesting. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I would appreciate that you subscribe so that you'll be notified when I drop the next video. Remember, these videos are randomly generated. Do you understand? I just think of, let's cover that. So I move randomly so that I want you to come back and watch. And please watch all the videos. They are very good. If you do have a comment, leave it down in the comment section below. Until next time.